Good evening, everybody. Good evening. We have arrived in Emilia-Romagna, home to Ferrari, home to Ducati, home to Lamborghini, and home to the Autodromo Enzo di Ferrari. This track has played host to the Italian Grand Prix and the San Marino Grand Prix in the past, and in the present to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and to today's second day of pre-season testing for GP4 Formula 2 2021. So hello there, guys. And just like yesterday, it is I, Robert Ionescu, your lead commentator. And again, just like yesterday, I'm joined by Joseph Willows. Hello, Joe.
Hello, and yes, we are here for day number 2 here at Imola, and a different version of Imola, of course, to what we've been used to in the past. But yeah, it should be very interesting to see what today is like compared to yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the modern day version of Formula 1 uses, or as I like to call it, the raceable version. But I'm very, very excited to be here at Imola. Of course, if you missed yesterday, Dennis Graff was the fastest driver, with Jonathan Martins in second. But there were quite a lot of driver errors during yesterday's session. Are we going to get errors today as well? Who knows? But without further ado, it's time to take a look at the weather for today's test.
Indeed so, and it's another dry session. A bit of cloud cover, but we should hopefully just get a dry session throughout the entirety of it.
Yeah, nothing major in terms of weather, really. So give me your thoughts on the circuit, Joe, because I think it's a fan favorite for a lot of people.
Well, it is a fan favourite, but to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of the circuit, to be honest. I put it in the same category
Well,
as
you're
many
entitled to your own
Hawthorne.
opinion, so that's fair. Fair enough.
But I can understand the appeal of it, of course, but I'm just not a big fan of the circuit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I understand. The track is pretty narrow, but it's not as narrow as Monaco, and it's definitely not got as few overtaking opportunities as Monaco. You can race here, especially on this layout, so it should be quite entertaining if we get racing. Right now it's just testing though, so let's enjoy it.
Indeed, and it will be interesting to see whether Dennis Kraft can continue what he did yesterday, of course, and hopefully, should Martins' nationality be corrected this time by? Let's see, and yes, it is. He's now a Brazilian driver, like he should be.
That's great. Also, let's keep that for the previous 2 seasons, day 1 and day 2 were topped by the same person. In 2019 was Vince Vallinger fastest on both days. In 2020 it was Alex Prosser fastest on both. So will Graf be able to do the double as well?
You may have noticed as well, of course, with
commentate you guys through.
You may have noticed as well with Summit Oskin that his helmet is slightly updated, because you may remember yesterday, of course, that his helmet looked like it was in an 8-bit video game. Well, it's been updated since, and as you can see, it's a lot more high definition than what it was yesterday.
Yeah, indeed. It was like 144p earlier, but it's better now, so that's a good thing, of course.
Indeed, as he now makes his way through the Peratella corner now then. And Samatoskin looking to have a good day here today. And of course, the last time we had the feeder series go around Imola, of course, was back in, I believe it was 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously, at that time, there was only...
The old layout, of course.
Yes, indeed. And because of that, there was only like a total of 2 overtakes, if I'm not mistaken. But whether...
Yeah,
if
unfortunately.
Whether if we have a race around this version in F2 or in any other series and it produces better racing now that we haven't got the last chicane anymore, we'll have to wait and see. But
time for a lap with Samaroskan. Here we go. This is the long straight, of course, the only serious overtaking opportunity. It's a long run down to turn 1, so here we go. First up, a flat out left-hand kink, nothing to worry about. And then the infamous turn 1 of Tamburello. You need to brake hard and get turned in early. Do not touch that curb, it's really gonna mess up your car. As you go flat out through turn 3 in towards Villeneuve, you need to turn early and be as far left as you can, brake in a straight line, and dart to the right hand curb as you need. And towards Toss uphill, brake late, but make sure you turn in early, hit the inside curb on the apex there, late apex, as you launch yourself onto this straight in towards Piratella, one of the most important corners when it comes to lap time. Careful with extending, you don't want to be caught with all four wheels of the white line, and Oscar's done that alright. In towards Acqua Minerale, a difficult braking zone uphill, brake and turn at the same time, careful on the throttle there, turn in early and maximize the traction. Up next is Variante Alta, and be very careful here. You need to take some curb, but don't take too much because you'll be in a world of trouble if you take too much. Have a good exit here, and all that remains is the run down to Rivazza, which is a very important corner here because it's very easy to mess up, understeer and just go into the gravel. Oskan's got it all right, and now into Rivazza 2. Hit the inside curb there, but be careful with the throttle, use all the track on exit, and that is a lap of Imola.
And Oskan is going to cross the line, and it is going to be, for the benchmark time, a 123.632 as Moore goes quicker by 3/10 of a second. Quintino now goes quicker with a 123.059, but gets beaten already by Henson, who breaks into the 1-minute 22s.
Here goes Curtis.
1.6 seconds off on his first lap there. Farina slots into 4th. Suto across the line goes to 6th. 4th place for Jafari Blackwood. Dennis Graff, the man who topped yesterday, goes 7th in this session. 7th for Watzel. 2nd for Martins. Here comes Bivona. He goes into 4th position as Adam Chobot will cross the line to slot into 6th position. Tobias Kress across the line he will go. It's P11 for the German. Derebrus Daniel, P13 for him. Proxy across the line goes P5. Alexander Arnold across the line he will go in the Charoux, slots to 14th. Bence Valdinger in the Uni Virtuosi will cross the line now then, and the Hungarian slots to 15th. Nagurin goes into 9th. Rico across the line he will go, and the Campos slots into 4th. As Keoshani crosses the line to go into 11th, and Senonome is the last car to cross the line for the first flying laps. The Japanese driver crosses the line, and he slots into 18th. Henson currently at the top at the moment by 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, not bad at all. Martins, though, once again, in the top 2. I think, as we have just had the lockup from him, whilst we were talking about him, so clearly giving his all, and that's this lap ruined, even though he's only lost 0.2, so not ruined by too much. He might be able to claw it back in S3, I'm not sure. He might get a healthy dose of slipstream onto the line, as Oskan and Moore have both improved. So has Quintino, as a matter of fact, to knock Martins down into 3rd.
Indeed, as both Henson and Quintino improved there. Curtis improves, but only into 17th position. Trident 1st and 17th in the moment. Blackwood's goes into
improved.
Need some more improvements on this lap. Suto 19th, Watzel 14th. Martins doesn't improve, stays in 3rd. As Bavona, the 2020 Formula E champion, goes up into 3rd position himself in the Prema.
Yep, indeed. As Tobias Kress has improved as well, go up to 14th. Looks like Blackwood's trying to make a move. Some Protsikas up to 7th, meanwhile, as Derebrus Daniel is still in 21st. The 2 Hungarians running out the rear of the field right now.
Just want to point out as well, I noticed that the loading screen didn't do what it did yesterday when it was adjusting the graphics. Has the graphics fin been removed, or is Fo found a way to stop it from...
Rico's gone into 2nd in the meantime, and China has gone 10th.
Just wondering if he had removed that thing with the loading screen and had found a way to not have that thing anymore. Okay.
That's very good.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's that then.
Martins could be on an improvement, but Curtis isn't right now in the meantime.
As I was saying, you may remember as well yesterday in the stream chat we had Evan Byrne saying, basically doing the SpongeBob meme, saying my eyes, basically being blinded by the light. So
Curtis has improved actually. Into 17th, Gabriel Quintino's also improved to get back into 2nd.
Yes, it is, and yes, this is the current version of Imola, George. Only got released a couple of months ago, I believe. So yeah, it's relatively new to Grand Prix 4. It was, in fact, if anybody watched the season launches, Alfa Romeo used it for its car launch. So a bit of trivia there with this circuit.
Yep, indeed. And in the meantime, someone else can be diving into the pits at the end of this lap, it appears. And the field isn't as close as it was yesterday, but this is a longer track, and we haven't had a full session yet, so of course things may, and probably will, get closer than this. But Hansen doing pretty good right now.
Indeed so, as Blackwood currently being held up by one of the Tridents at the moment.
Protsuk's found some time in S1, but if he doesn't get the move done here into Piratella, he won't be improving on this one.
Currently stuck behind, I believe that's Doribush Daniel who's currently stuck behind. I think that's a Vettel helmet I'm looking at there, so I'd imagine
Looks
it's
like he
Danny.
tried to go for the move downhill into Acqua Minerale. Let's be honest, that was never going to work. Into
Might
Variante
try
Alta, he's
it.
going to go for it again. Has to back out early. As Curtis is about to finish this lap, is this an improvement for the reigning champion? It is not by a tenth.
Martins now then is trying to find a way through on the ART. Let's see if this version can help with racing or not. Let's see. Martins going to the inside. Is this going to work for him? And in fact, the ART closes the door there before he even had a chance to try and get alongside there. So that's that really. As Proxuke, is he going to try and have a go now at, I believe we
He
leave
sure
this
is.
He's going to have a go, but again, same consequence there. Danny just shuts the door there. As Arnold, meanwhile, gets within under a second and goes into 18th.
Yep. Arnold obviously struggled yesterday. He was the slowest. Just barely got within a second by the end as we're looking at Adam Chobot. But yeah, Arnold is making some progress. He's already 4 places better.
See, yesterday as well, we saw that Chobot was struggling a little bit yesterday. It seems, as expected, he's kind of turned up the wick on this one today during the test. So Chobot's showing what sort of pace he showed during last season. Whether he can mount a championship attack this season in VAR's first ever season, we'll have to wait and see. Not video assistant ref, I'm talking about the Van Amersfoort Racing Team.
This is a much better VAR anyway.
It is indeed. As Martin's now then trying to have a look at one of the ARTs again, going down into Lavazza, but choosing to go to the outside rather than the inside on that occasion.
Here goes Farina finishing a lap, and it is not an improvement as Jafari Blackwood is going to try to go for the move here on the Trident.
And he's going to try and flick it to the inside here. He thought about it, but thought better of it. Basically, it looked a little bit tight. So whether this is a little bit more raceable or not compared to the chicane version, I'm not really sure. But
looks like the drivers always back out when it comes to Flat Out King. They don't seem to have the confidence to go for it. Into Villeneuve, it wasn't possible either.
As Proxute now then,
Maybe going for the move down now. Can you get him into turn 1? Yes, he can.
We do have an overtake there today for the likes of Ruslan Proxy, who just gets by on Doribush Daniel. And we talked about it yesterday with Ruslan Proxy. Could he finally grab that brass wing and win the title? And most importantly, finally get himself into the top class. It's twice now that he's come close to getting into the top class. Is it third time's the charm?
It just might be. Who knows? Well, we'll just have to wait and see, of course.
Just noticed as well, looking back at the stream on YouTube, it seems that Flo may have sorted out the little issue that we had in the DTM F2 test, where the stream was like 30 seconds behind. So I think Flo has actually gone.
That's a relief. Mats Vallinger, in the meantime, has just gone into 4 fastest. Gabriel Rico has just gone out on track as well. And yeah, just Frederick Soto. He hasn't been quick yesterday. He's not been quick today. I think there's definitely a lot of things Shrews have to fix. As Agatino Bivona is 2.5 times down right now. Into Variante Alta, avoiding the curb on the right hander, but taking a little bit of it on left.
Indeed, and one thing I do want to ask the people in the stream chat, of course, obviously I asked Rob's opinion on the new liveries for the F2, of course. What is everybody's favourite livery overall in the stream chat? Let us know whilst this session is currently happening, as we now look at Farina, who's actually up on his personal best in the first sector.
If you want me to give my opinion, I believe my favorite livery would probably be the Campos. I think it's a very nice livery.
I personally would have to say the Van Amersfoort, if I'm being totally honest. I do like the...
Yeah, that's really cool as well.
Speaking of which, we're looking at the Van Amersfoort with some very
Does it remind you a little bit of the Arrows team from F1?
Not too much. I would say the car in front will probably remind me a little bit more of the Arrows, really, the one that Ruslan Proxyuk is driving.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Goen has got up into 9th position in the Premier, so currently 5th and 9th for the two Premier drivers at this point in time. Whilst we were talking, it looks like Valdinger has got up into 4th, and now Moore has got up into 5th position. So more improvements coming all the time in this session, and it looks like
Luca Farina could have one.
More proving that it is a little bit more overtakeable around this track. Just put on an overtake there on his own teammate, I believe, as Farina does improve.
Has improved, but stays where he is, as Gabriel Rico has a major lockup going to Villeneuve. I said that earlier, you need to break the straight line for the right-hander. If you don't, you're going to be in trouble. It's a very easy mistake to make. And yeah, Imola has a track like that. It's narrow-ish, as Chobot has improved to go into 9th place. It's easy to make mistakes, but when you nail a lap here, it feels extremely good.
And I was going to say something, but I've kind of lost my train of thought now. What I was going to say. Oh yeah, that was it. As Martins there gets a little bit out of shape going into Villeneuve there, and we're going to take a look at a little replay. Just looked like he went a little bit too quick there, Rob.
Yeah, took a little bit of curb there, and really lucky not to lose the car onto the gravel trap.
I was going to say, obviously, yesterday, if you didn't see day one of Prix testing when we were at Euro Speedway, of course, we saw a lot of the drivers making a lot of mistakes and a lot of lockups. Whilst we're still seeing some making mistakes, it seems that they've toned that down a little bit today.
Well, obviously this track is a little bit easier compared to Lausitzring. Lausitzring has the barriers pretty close to the track on many occasions. And yeah, Imola, it's got a lot more straight line than Lausitzring as in going Brusco to P8. So there are less places to make mistakes, but we still see mistakes nevertheless.
We just saw as well Quintino locking up going into the chicane there, and Quintino now then will come across the line, and probably his luck was probably going to be affected by that anyway, judging that lock up as Suto is coming into the pits this lap. Obviously, last season we'll talk about Suto a little bit. It was first half of the season he had a very strong start to the season, and then it just sort of fell away in the second half of the season. Obviously back for the second season with Charouz and looking to put the disappointment of last season behind him.
Yeah, indeed. He was brilliant in Portugal. He took a dominant win. But after that, for almost the entirety of the season, he just ghosted. The only thing I remember of José Soto after the win in Portugal was that he qualified on the front row at Brno, but he didn't finish in the points that race. So, yeah, I think he's got a lot to prove, but we know he's a guy who can win races and win them in his style. So he just needs to recover his mojo, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some wins from him.
Indeed so. Meanwhile, Martins is up on his personal best in the first sector. Only 12 thousandths down on Henson in the first sector there. So Martins looking like he could be on a good lap, providing he gets this hooked up correctly. Curtis, meanwhile, goes up into 13th position. So far, not got himself into the top 10 yet, has the defending champion, as Martins makes his way up out of Aquaminerali there. And
his exit wasn't exactly the cleanest. I think he had a little bit of understeer, but nevertheless, he's up by 10 for his personal best as Gabriel Rico goes within 100 of Rose Henson. We have Blake Moore battling with his own teammate.
And then goes to the top, meanwhile, with a 1 minute 22.745.
Oskin's improved as well, goes 16 fastest.
And some information with Flo there. He's kind of kept this one a secret, really, for quite a bit. You may remember as well, if you're watching the top class, of course, the injury system is back in the top class. Well, we can confirm that it also is a thing in F2 and DTM as well. So that's also another thing to bear in mind as well.
But very unlikely.
Yes. And
Martins is going into 4th place. Meanwhile, Tobias Kress sliding into P9.
There's a bit of a lock-up there for one of the Dams cars in front of Graf there, as it might affect Graf's lap as a result, because he was up on his personal best.
Yeah, he was up by a good margin, but looks like this lap is a write-off.
Indeed, as he's trying to find a way through there. It's meanwhile, Martins.
A purple sector 1 for Martins. He's only found 100 of a second, but that's still enough. He's faster than Sonoma by 300s. If he can keep up this pace, he might get himself into the top 2.
Indeed. Let's see if he can keep it up, though, and see if he can get a purple middle sector. Here comes Graf across the line. He will go. Curtis improves with amazing 13th. Graf doesn't improve as a result of being held up by the Dams there. Is he going to try and find a way through past the Dams into the first corner?
We've already had more overtakes in these 15 minutes of testing than we've had the entire previous race here. As Martins has lost some ground, but is still up on Sonoma. Looks like Hento's sector 3 was very good. Rico's gone into 2nd, meanwhile, in front of Henson.
Martins, meanwhile, has wrecked his lap there. I don't know if you just saw that, but he locked up going into the chicane there, so you're not able to hook it up at all, is the Brazilian. And looks like this lap has been wrecked as a result. Probably pushing a little bit too hard is Martins in his first season in the feeder series.
When there are no risks, you can push as much as you want. Nothing's gonna happen to you if you crash in testing. So yeah, just do the best you can, gather all the data possible to put yourself in the best place for this season ahead.
As Keoshani looks like he's trying to gap himself now between himself and Dennis Graf, meanwhile, but
not gonna happen. Looks like Graf has a solid pace advantage right now.
On track, meanwhile, it seems, because at one point he was quite close behind. But as you can see, Martins is going to try again to see if he can set a purple.
The exact same sector 1 as his last lap, as a matter of fact.
I also noticed as well that whilst he was purple in the middle sector compared to Sinanome, he was actually down on his personal best
Yeah,
in
but
the
by
middle
only
sector.
300s, I
So
think.
it suggests to me that Sinanome may have had a weak middle sector there compared to the rest of the field.
Or maybe that Martins was particularly weak in S3. Look, once again he's down by 300s.
Yes, indeed. But this time, unlike the previous lap, he doesn't lock up going into the chicane. So we'll have to wait and see how
Let's
this
see
one
if he
goes
can
and
hook
whether
up Rivazza nicely, as Graf is still stuck behind Chow China here.
Graf probably getting a little bit annoyed at the moment. Graf, where is he at the moment? He's currently in 20th position, so not really replicating the pace that we saw yesterday from the German.
Nope. As Farina improves to go 14th, we're expecting Martins to cross the line. I don't believe he's improved.
So that would
But
suggest to
Chobat
me that
stays 13th.
Hento didn't have the best middle sector on his lap. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty much
probably.
that there.
Soto
That's it.
improves but stays in 21st meanwhile.
Yep. It seems that at the moment, Graf, Suto, and Daniel are the only three drivers to be over a second behind Synonym at the moment. Everybody else is within 7 tenths of each other.
Yep, that's right. Chobat a tenth down on his personal best in the first sector there. And so we got a little bit of a free car train lining up behind him.
Yes, it looks like there's going to be their own version of M4 motorway traffic going on down there. Martin's not able to replicate what he did on the previous
We
two
have
laps.
Hansen being under attack into Aqua Minerale, where she keeps the position, no problem there. I believe that's. I'm actually not sure who that is behind.
I believe that is Tobias Kress, I believe, because it isn't because I
Right.
know for a fact that the MP Motorsport, we know that Ruslan is driving a Red Bull and Kress has got a light blue car. So and that's the light blue car there of Tobias Kress.
Yeah, fair enough. As here I have Martins on our lap. Can you find an improvement this time? Or I imagine he might start into pits soon enough, but here we go. Nevertheless,
Martins
he's
does not.
just 300s down, but he's definitely not doing the best in middle in sectors 2 and 3. Soto improves yet again, gets within a second only just, but stays in 20th.
Only two drivers now who are over a second behind Sinanome, that being Graf and Durebush Daniel at the moment. As this train of cars still continue, Crest going to have a go at Henson into the Villeneuve chicane, but Henson says no to that one. And I think these three are just going to keep on holding each other up for a very long time.
Until one of them pits. Or crashes.
Yeah, potentially, yes, or maybe even has a mechanical failure. Who knows? I haven't had any mechanical failures so far, so I guess we've already got the reliability aspect sorted out. Isn't that right, Mechachrome?
Perhaps, as Graf has had a major improvement, he's gonna pick 12th place, meaning Darabosh is the only one out within a second.
So Danny, we saw this yesterday as well with Danny. He seemed to be a little bit off the pace, maybe still trying to get used to the F2 cars, maybe taking a lot longer to get used to compared to all the other drivers around him. So who knows really, but whether we will see him put up a very quick lap throughout the course of this session, we'll have to wait and see, of course.
Well, this is a different beast compared to the FE cars he used to drive, so he's still learning the ropes, and as long as there's no points on offer, it's okay to be still learning the ropes. It's you need to show up when we get to race day and qualifying day, of course. And right now, it doesn't matter if he's slow in testing; he can still work past that.
Yeah, indeed, as Cress again struggles.
There's another car joining this train. Hansen's gonna go through. What about Cress? Cress is as well.
Driver being Samet Oskin, who they just went by there in the high-tech Grand Prix car. So that's that. Speaking of high-tech, here is his teammate Johannes Martins.
He's lost time in S1 this time. I think he's struggling with tires just a little bit. Maybe having to deal with a little bit of graining.
He has been out on track now for about 13 laps, so you can kind of understand that as well. I wonder when he'll be told to come back into the pits, of course. Now, if anybody who didn't see yesterday's presentation, you may have noticed as well that we're highly unlikely to get anybody with a checkered flag next to their name. That's because if you look on the top of the dev panel,
We've got 99 laps.
99 laps. So this should prevent people from getting the checkered flag early in a session. So
Daniel's Darabosh is gone within a second. Up to 15th he goes. But yeah, unless you set 10-second lap times, you won't have to deal about the checkered flag. You won't have to worry about the checkered flag.
Yes, indeed. And Danny's already saying there's more overtakes in this than what we saw in 2014 with the old version of Imola, as one of the Prema cars comes out on track, and that will be Agatina Bavona, as he's got
Speaking
the.
of Martins from earlier, looks like he'll finally dart to the pits this lap as here goes Krestak and Hansen. Can I get the move down on the American driver? No, the answer is.
As Daniel gets a little bit out of shape going into Aqua Minerale there.
Put one of his wheels off track there. It ended very nasty, but I was able to correct it quickly. Get turned in, and looks like he's actually almost gaining just 100 of his personal best. If you accept this S3 nicely, you might be able to get an improvement on that last lap.
Who knows, really. It will be interesting to see, and it would be a little bit fascinating to see how on earth he's been able to gain from that mistake, really. But anyways, Crest still stuck behind Henson at this point in time. So now look at Jafari Blackwood. He's only 3 thousandths off in the first sector, but we've just seen he's just making a little bit of an error going through into, I think it's called Tosa, isn't it? If I'm
Yes,
not
it is.
mistaken.
It's a deceptively difficult corner as Darbosh has improved her whole position. And in Tosa, it's uphill, so you can brake a little bit later, but it's a very, very deceptive corner because you need to judge the apex quite carefully. If you hit the apex too early, you might be struggling with some wheel spin or something like that as Martins comes in. And of course, you don't want to miss the apex entirely because you could end up in the gravel and having to reverse the car and drop a minute behind, especially if it's in wet conditions.
Realize as well that chicane that you keep referring to as the what's the chicane called?
The one in Sector 3, Variante Alta.
Well, it seems, judging from this track map, it recently got renamed after Fausto Grisini, so a bit of a nice touch there.
Yeah, it is. I'd prefer to use both names interchangeably if that's not an issue. As looks like Joe China has improved to go into fourth fastest.
He has. Keoshani, we saw this yesterday as well. Keoshani seems to be looking pretty good in these Formula 2 cars. We saw that in previous series he's been kind of struggling a little bit. But it seems with these cars, he seems to have got to grips with them very easy. Of course, you could argue that because these are brand new cars, everyone is essentially on a level playing field. So clearly he's adapting to these a lot quicker than some others, really.
That's obviously a good thing.
In his case, yes, of course, and of course, Keoshani, of course, known, of course, for winning the Indy 500 back in 2019. Although I think he'll want to be known for more than just that. And
he's got plenty of time to make a name for himself beyond just that amazing Indy win.
Yes, indeed. Sinonomi is going to cross the line using a bit of slipstream, I believe, from Tobias Kress in front, if I'm not mistaken. I can't quite tell from that. I know it's a blue car.
He's lost 3 tenths in the last sector alone, as Alexander Arnold improves to go 15th.
It's actually Sinonomi he's trying to pass there, but not Valdinger there that Sinonomi was trying to pass, but Valdinger saying no to that one as they now make their way towards the Villeneuve chicane.
Yep, indeed, Arnold. Let's see if he can improve in Sector 1. No, he's gone a little deep into the first part of Villeneuve, but has he lost much time? Not a lot, actually.
Only 85 thousandths off on his personal best in the first sector, so he could still try and gain it back in the next two, but I think he'll need to dig deep if he wants to go a little bit higher.
He also needs to make sure he doesn't get impeded by that traffic ahead.
We will see, though, as he now makes his way down towards Aqua Minerale, as now Crest tries to find a way through on Henson into Peratella there, but again, not able to find a way through. For Crest, probably frustrated at the moment at this point. Crest currently in 10th position at this point in time. Currently, his teammate Proxy down in 14th position. So we will wait and see, of course.
Interesting delta there in Sector 2. Look, it's the exact same to the leader. So Stoneham and Crest were evenly matched heading into the last sector. But look at where he is on the table. Means Kress lost 3 full tenths to Sonoma in the last sector alone, so he's definitely got a lot of time he can find.
Yeah, indeed, as we now look at Synonome now, then he makes his way towards the first few corners. In fact, I think from what I can read from that death panel, I think it's more the fact that their fastest second sectors, Synonomes and Cresses, I think are evenly matched.
That's why I was a reference. That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, so obviously Synonome was able to find more time in that third sector. So we talked about it earlier that Synonome may have not had the best second sectors. So who knows, maybe more time to find for the Japanese driver as long as he doesn't get any traffic like he's currently in at the moment.
Well, yeah, if he wants to think about an improvement, he needs to clear this guy first. The guy, Ben Zwellinger, who retired from the lead with a brake failure at Brno, allowing Hento to take his first victory.
Yep, as Synonome is getting into the switching of Valdinger. Is he going to try and make a move into the curve of Fausto Cassini? No, he is not, as in fact Valdinger actually has a little bit of a lock-up through into the second part of the chicane there, but Synonome not able to take full advantage. And they're also going to be bringing two more cars into this, one of them being Bavona and the other one being a Charouz. Not sure which Charouz it is, though.
I have to say though, on the run down to Rivazza, it's pretty much impossible to overtake in the dry. In the wet it's another story, but Synonome won't have to worry about that because Valdinger just darted into the pits.
Blackwood gets it all crossed up into the chicane. We're seeing a lot of people locking up through into the chicane in this session, so that seems to be where the common mistake is coming happening in this session. So
it's very easy to mess it up. You need to be very, very careful with how you judge those curbs, because the curbs of Variante Alta are especially unforgiving.
They are indeed, and I think
Arnold's just gone wide. The same mistake Sergio Perez made in 2021, and Arnold, he's has been there.
Pretty much a carbon copy of Sergio Perez's mistake from 2021. I was also going to bring up Alexander Albon from that mistake, but he actually went a little bit further to the right when he went off the track. This is exactly
indeed.
The same sort of gravel trap that Sergio Perez got himself caught in. And
I would say, just to keep in mind, of course, Perez's mistake was in damp conditions. This is bone dry.
Yeah, indeed, and he actually lost it whilst on the racetrack rather than losing it whilst he was on the gravel. So yeah, first error we've seen today, major error I should say, and it comes in the form of Alexander Arnold, clearly pushing a bit too hard there.
Yeah, indeed. Still, he's made some solid progress from yesterday. He's gained 7 places from his position on day 1. As Oskin has had to slow down, had to brake earlier than anticipated. And Tosa, that's this lap ruined if it wasn't already, judging by his sector 1. As Chobot has found a massive improvement in his sector, he's purple.
He's got it all crossed up in that chicane, and looks like that might have gone into the bin, unfortunately.
It's so easy to mess up, which just shows just how amazing Hento Synome's sector 3 was. I told you before, guys, he did it 3 tenths better than Kress, was evenly matched with him to the 1000th. Heading into S3. Out of S3, he put 3 tenths on him and on a lot of other people. What about Chobot? No improvement.
That mistake definitely costing him there. He'll want to go and try again, unless he's got the pit symbol on his death panel. I'm not sure. It's Quintino getting held up by, I would assume that is Suto, because we've seen that Arnold is actually behind Pivona on the track.
Yep. And let's talk about Gabriel Quintino a little bit, if you don't mind, because in 2019 he was struggling immensely. He finished last. He got like 6 points, 8 points. He scored very few points, and he was supposed to be dropped. But thanks to a fake driver controversy, he was given a lifeline. He was able to stay in GP2, now F2. And last season he picked up a couple of solid results, including podiums. So I think he's found some renewed energy. And yeah, he'll be on for a good season.
Of course, let's not forget he is the 2018 BTCC champion as well. So obviously,
looks like it was a Trident of Curtis, not Charouz impeding him.
Well, similar color scheme, but
yeah, that is true. I got them mixed up in my head a few times, just not out loud.
As Quintino is coming into the pits this lap and looking to find a way through on Curtis, but not going to work out there.
Afraid not, and he'll be coming into pits this lap, so it's not like he has to rush for the overtake.
Oh, definitely not. He's going to try and have a look into Villeneuve, but it's not going to quite work out. As we now look at Ruslan Protsy, who's just coming around the Senna S and then through Tamburello, as now he will make his way towards the Villeneuve chicane. Let's see what his first sector is like.
Arnold's just improved.
Same time as Valdinger, I should point out as well. So he's found some time.
F3 goes on VAR as Curtis locks up into Piratella, and Quintino did get the overtake done. I'm not sure he planned it.
Oh, Arnold's made a mistake through into the first corner. So obviously that lap he was really pushing hard, and
he just lost the front there under braking. His line was compromised from passing the VAR. He wasn't able to get it on the outside, so clearly he found a patch with less grip. And just completely lost it under braking.
Indeed.
He wasn't able to switch back to a racing line in time. and there's only one real line into Tamburello. If you take it from any other angle, you'll be in a world of pain.
Yeah, indeed. As Arnold now, then obviously with more dirt on his tyres, and yeah, shows how much he's really pushing hard with that car. Really.
He's uh, he's trying his best to deliver for himself and make some progress. Speaking of progress, Usain Protiuk is 100 up on his personal best he enters Sector 3.
We now look at Juventus Martins now then, who's currently stuck behind one of the ART cars. Keep an eye on the left-hand side of the timing tab.
Has to be Farina.
Yeah, it will be Farina because Watsel's in the pits. Here comes Propsuit just coming out of Lavazza. Let's see if he can improve as the man who's come so close to getting a seat in the previous 2 seasons. He does improve to set
It's at the same time as Graf.
Stays where he is in 15th position. So we've got 2 sets of pairs really at the moment in the field. 7th and 8th with Valdinger and Arnold, and 14th and 15th with Graf and Protsiuk.
Yep, it is surely interesting, as Martinez is way down in the middle sector. Clearly, traffic has a major impact here. I've compared this track to Monaco in a few ways, like as Rico improves, stays in second, but gets closer to the front. But yeah, I said it's narrow, but not as narrow as Monaco. It's it hasn't got many overtaking opportunities, but it has more than Monaco. But the one thing it shares with Monaco absolutely is that track position is king here.
Yep, as Rico looks like he's missed the apex going into Villeneuve there and gets it all crossed up going into that section.
7th down. How's he lost that much time?
I think it's safe to say, looking at the last 2 days, these cars seem to be a lot more trickier to drive than what the previous GP2 cars used to be like, Rob.
Yeah, indeed. It's a whole different beast, and honestly, I'm rather entertained.
Yeah, who knows? This could be an omen for the season as well, where we get to see more mistakes as we now look at Rose Henson, who looks like they're going to do a similar thing. No, my eyes deceived me there. Henson got that
first sector wasn't bad,
but nearly 2 tenths down on their personal best at the moment, as Henson currently 3rd position at the moment. Top 3, of course, separated by 75 thousandths of a second, so pretty close there. And just like what we saw yesterday, as we touched on a little bit earlier, looks like the drivers like to get themselves in a few pairs, it seems, during these lap times at the moment. We did see yesterday that we had 2 sets of pairs yesterday before I think one of them improved. Whether that's an omen of somebody improving whilst I'm speaking about them, I don't know. But yeah, it's
just a happy coincidence, I'd say.
Yes, it is. As we have just over 26.5 minutes to go, as Protsiuk's actually up on his personal best in the first sector, as Martin's still stuck behind Luca Farina as we speak, as Protsiuk gets it all a little bit crossed up.
Improves. You were saying just a minute ago you were hoping one of those pairs gets broken. Well, now it's been broken.
Protsiuk still up on his personal best, but I think he's lost a little bit of time going through into Aquaminerale there, because we saw that his car was a little bit bouncy going through into there. So, yeah. We'll have to wait and see if he can keep that
of
one
course,
up.
it's a double apex corner Aquaminerale. It's okay to miss the first apex. It's the second apex that's absolutely critical, because you need to get the car turned in early and get on the throttle as quick as you can, minimize the wheel spin, and launch yourself on the short straight to over in Delta. As Protsiuk is about to finish the lap, can he improve? Yes.
Yes, he can. Now the other pair is evaporated as Oskin gets it all wrong, going through into the chicane there.
Yeah, looks like he just struggled with understeer there. Clearly, his line was compromised, and this lap will be something to forget as he just prepares for the next one.
As he just comes out of the
Arnold improves as Protsiuk goes once again purple in S1.
Arnold up into 5th position now then, getting himself in front of Juventus Martins. Let's see if Protsiuk can keep it tidy this time by, unlike the previous lap where he got it all wrong down at Aquaminerale.
Looks like he's braked a little earlier into Piratella, clearly trying to set up the exit around down the hill, as Arnold is being majorly impeded by that VAR.
That being Delay Bustagno at the moment. So let's see what Protsiuk's middle sector is like. And 2 thousandths up, so he's lost a bit of time in that middle sector, but it seems he's not making any mistakes so far.
I think he was evenly matched with his I think he was evenly matched compared to his best, actually, because he was 300s up after S1 and he's still 300s up. Of course, do keep in mind he's over 3 tenths down on Sonome after S3, so it shows he's got a lot of ground he can make up in that one sector alone.
Indeed, as we now look at Samatoskin, who's making his way up through the hill. We did see him lock up on his lap as Proxy crosses the line, and he improves but remains in 14th position.
It's crazy just how slow some of these guys are in Sector 3. Struggling, while Sonome did it perfectly. It's really hard to believe. You can be evenly matched with him for S1 and S2, but be so far off the pace, the Japanese driver in Sector 3.
See what his first sector is like this time, guys. He just comes out of the Villeneuve chicane, and
He's
this
almost
time,
a tenth down on his personal best.
as a
Lockup for
lock up there
Hansen
for him.
there. Oh, another lockup into the second part of Ryan Delta.
So really struggling. Nguyen now gets up into 9th position, so getting himself back into the top 10 now then in the Premier, gets himself in front of Blake Moore at this point. As Henson now then will finish this lap off. Obviously the lap was affected there from the lock up into the chicane. As
Chobot improves as well.
he goes over into 14th as Proxy now then. It seems that the age of his tyres might be starting to catch up to him.
Yep, indeed. And it looks like I think he'll be considering coming into the pits soon enough.
We'll have to wait and see as he now makes his way down towards the two Levatsa corners. Levatsa 1 and then into Levatsa 2 now then before making his way back onto the pit straight. Here is Delibush Daniel now then, just making his way into the chicane and getting also a little bit crossed up there, but no lockup on that occasion.
Well, he was already 3 tenths down on his personal best, so it didn't really matter too much.
Nope, as they have just done 23 minutes to go now then in this session, the final day of F2 pre-season testing. Of course, the top class isn't on this week, of course, because Yuri's going on vacation, but it will be back next week. Also, though, this weekend as well, we do have DTM on at the newer layout of Hockenheim. So the first race of the season getting underway this weekend for DTM, and should be very interesting to see how that race fares. We saw Quintino miss the apex going into the first part of Levatsa there.
Yeah, DTM's debut is always very entertaining as Nguyen improves. He's gained a position, he's up into P8.
Yep, and he's actually just behind Quintino at that point. As we look at Proxy now, he's actually coming back into the pit, so you were right a little bit earlier on, Rob.
Yeah, so it seems. There's a point where those tires just can't give you anymore, no matter how much you ask of them. And yeah, looks like the tire wear isn't especially big here. You can keep pushing for a few laps and improve eventually, but once you hit a certain point, yeah, you're not going to be able to get much more of them.
No, definitely not, as Martins now then makes his way up towards Pertella, and Proxy now heading back into the pits and probably sharing back the data that he gathered on those runs.
I think his Sector 1 was especially promising, but he has a major deficit on main Sector 3. I don't know if it's a strain on his speed deficit or just failure to deal with the chicane properly, but nevertheless, it's not just him, it's a whole lot of other people that have to do their homework on why exactly they're so slow in S3.
Indeed, as we see more cars going past the pit straight now then. As the seconds tick by, and so far, Senonome at the top by 24 thousandths of a second, ahead of Rico in second, and Henson rounding out the top 3 at this point. And so far, the whole pack still separated by just under a second.
Yep, indeed. It's very good to have it be close, relatively close. As Luca Farina, of course, the winner of the first race last season, is back out on track.
And of course, with a point to prove after what had been a tricky second half of the season.
A tricky run into turn 3 for Arnold, but yes, I agree with you on Farina.
Yeah, it looks like again Arnold going on the ragged edge on these laps at the moment, and so far he's kept it away from.
He's lost 7 tenths. Those errors didn't look major, but their impact on lap time was quite significant. Tamburello can really punish you. Like I said earlier, it's a chicane really, with one real line, and if you're off that line, you're going to lose big time.
Of course, we saw Arnold making mistakes earlier on in the session.
Curtis has improved.
As he got into the gravel twice, of course, going through Villeneuve and the first chicane. So maybe just calming down a little bit, or I don't know, really.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. But nevertheless, even though he's had some errors today, you can't say this was worse day than yesterday. He's made up a lot of ground compared to the others.
Currently 5th at the moment. His teammate Suto currently occupying the back of the field at the moment in this testing session. Whether he will.
Yeah, Suto is struggling majorly in both days, as Protsiuk is just about being overtaken by the Campos there.
Yep, as Proxy was actually coming out on track there. Has got Nguyen right behind him now. Then
Looks like he
and
might have a Prima to deal with as well shortly.
Nguyen as coming out of the Villeneuve chicane. As now he'll make his way through into Toza now. Then before making his way up towards Pilatella, and we'll have to wait and see if Nguyen is going to give him bother on
Suto
that
has
lap.
improved by 100th of a second, not major though. Zuko's gone extremely wide, all four wheels of the wide line there. Though he didn't mean to do that, just understeered off at Bertella. As down to Aqua Minerale, his lap is already compromised, so it's not like it matters much. But how much has he lost? He's lost 1.5 seconds.
One thing I will be interested to see, though, when we get to the first race of the season at Baku in 2 weeks' time, is what these cars are like compared to the GP2 cars. Obviously, it will be very interesting to see whether these cars are faster or slower, of course.
Yeah, that should be a fun sight. I, if I dare, if I dare guess, I'd say it's roughly about the same straight line speed, but the cornering may be different.
We will see, though. I mean, Baku, of course, is the first race of the season in 2 weeks' time. I think it's the first time that Baku is going to host the opener for
Yeah,
the
of
FIDE
course,
series.
because almost every single time Bahrain used to be the opener. Last season got moved to the voted track, which ended up being Nürburgring, as Prosik's just been overtaken there. And yeah, this time it's gonna be Baku.
And of course, for the top class, Bahrain is happening towards the back end of the season, unlike in real life where it's towards the beginning of the season. So that will be something to that was something
I was
interesting.
surprised when I saw that change, Bahrain being moved towards the back end, announced on the calendar. But it's a welcome change, nevertheless. It's getting a little bit stale seeing Bahrain at the front every single time. So this is a welcome change. Soto has improved by just 100th yet again.
Yui obviously did the change because he wanted it to be a back-to-back between Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. So
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. China to 7 times down on the leader. Curtis improves though.
he's only 16th though, but it's fair to say that it's quite close between the pack at the moment, and the top 20, in fact, separated by just over half a second.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that be an omen come the qualifying sessions when the season starts.
I guess it's going to be all to play for when you get to quali, and your every driver is going to try to get it his laps their laps. Yeah, all the drivers are going to try to get their laps done perfectly. As Moore
Oh,
has got it perfectly wrong, and does the same mistake Arnold did.
looks like he might have looked like it was oversteer on that occasion. Not the case that. Not a case of him going a bit too quick into the corner. So Moore gets it going back onto the track there, and we're just going to have a look at a little replay then to see. And yeah, just oversteer.
Oh, he just lost it before turning. So that was a very bizarre incident.
Yeah, it looks like he just had a snap of oversteer going through into that second part there. Maybe a lockup as well in the process. And yeah, just spun it around in the same style that we saw with Alexander Arnold a little bit earlier on.
Yep, indeed. Sector 1 is very, very unforgiving. It's the easiest to make a mistake in, I think. And the
Indeed,
mistakes here punish the most because that's where the gravel is at.
as Moore now then just comes out of Piratella as he'll now make his way down towards Aqua Minerale, just doing everything he can to get all the gravel that he's had on his tyres basically off the car. And well, this lap, as expected, obviously ruined for him as Proxy again getting a little bit crossed up going down into Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, we'll check his sector split right about now, and he's 4 tenths down, so clearly struggling a little bit for grip at the moment.
Yep, so we have just under 16 minutes to go now. It seems that the time has gone a little bit quickly in this session. Of course, we were not
Yeah, it
expecting
definitely
anyone.
feels that way. I guess when the
Of
laps are longer, even if it's just 10 or 20 seconds longer, it feels shorter overall, the session.
And meanwhile, trying to find a way through on Agatina Bavona in front. Of course, both of them coming over from Formula E last season. Of course, Bavona dominating.
Both of them won races, if I'm not mistaken.
Henson did win a race, and a little bit like with Kress as well, who ironically has also moved over from Formula E, because Henson was teammates with Kress last season. Both of them suffering a lot with reliability problems. So, yeah.
Well, this is a brand new series, so things can change.
My voice decided to go there whilst I was speaking, but
Oh,
yeah,
well.
Yeah, it sounded like I sounded like a grumpy old grandpa whilst I was speaking there for a little bit, but it's
Suto's
um,
improved this time by 3/100ths of a second, but he's still in last. He looks like he's only finding teeny tiny improvements. He can't find a major one like other drivers did.
as Nguyen. Is he going to try and find a way through on Farina? Let's see. He's going to think about a lunge, but thinks
Doesn't
better
really
of it.
matter much because Farina will be out of the way at the end of this lap. As Darabosh struck a little bit, he's gone almost all four wheels off track there into the exit of Villeneuve. He's lost so much time, 7 tenths down, but at least he's kept it on track.
Indeed, as Daniel now then will make his way up towards Pilatella, and currently at the moment finding himself in 18th position, just under 5 tenths behind Hento Sinano at the moment. The two VAR guys currently finding themselves in 14th and 18th. So whether they will be in those positions by the time the first race comes about, it will be a bit of a mystery, really.
Well, not all new teams expect to end up on pole for the first race. Of course, Lamborghini is an exception, but VAR are just gonna try to do their best, honestly. And yeah, just gathering some data today and yesterday, and see what they can do with that data, and just do their best and see what they end up on qualifying day in Baku.
As now Daniel will make his way across the line. Let's see what Delibus Daniel is able to do on this lap, and he does not
I'm
improve.
afraid not much.
He also looked like he got it a little bit wrong as well going into Lavazza, so two mistakes there on that lap for the
You have
Hungarian.
Harman Nguyen currently up in 8th place. Can you find anything in the second sector here? No. For just about 4 tenths down. But look at the delta there. Looks like he was up. His best was up on Sonoma by a full tenth of a second.
Like I said earlier, it seems Sinano's middle sector just seems to be a little bit weak. Maybe
Yeah, but he
he
more than makes up for it. We're brilliant as free.
Yeah, it seemed like he found quite a chunk of time in that third sector to get himself at the top of the timing sheets and has been
The
for the
only
most part.
explanation I could have possibly would be an amazing line into Variant Delta as Wallinger is struggling a little bit for grip into Villeneuve. He's just under 2 tenths down on his personal best.
As Valdinger just comes out of Tozer there, currently 2 tenths down on Sinanome and obviously down on his personal best at the moment. Valdinger, it's fair to say he's had a little bit of a bumpy road in GP2. It's fair to say, Rob, and he's hoping that the move to Uni Virtuosi finally ends that little bump in the road.
Well, he's been very vocal and disappointed about his tenure at Prema. So he's thought that maybe a change of team could bring him the results he wants, and we know he deserves. He is a race winner. Let's not forget, and he should have won at Brno if his brakes didn't fail on him. So yeah, Benz Wallinger, after 3 seasons at Prema, he's grown frustrated, and it's a fresh new start for him as Samuel Oskan improves. But yeah, Wallinger, I think he has high expectations for himself, as does every other driver, but him in particular. And I think he's going to try to do the best with Virtuosi.
Gabriel Rico at the moment, currently up in second place, currently having a good session, it's fair to say. Obviously, yesterday his teammate Dennis Graff topped the session, but it seems today Graff going a little bit easy on these runs today. But Rico,
Yeah, so it seems. Where was Rico yesterday, by the way? Because I actually forgot.
We actually have it in here, actually.
Right.
He was 13th yesterday.
Well, things have definitely got luckier for him this time around. Pun intended.
And of course, as well, for anybody who isn't aware as well, I've only just read that bit with Flo down there. Of course, like with all the other series, the spare car rule ban is also in effect for F2 as well. So that should also make things very interesting, especially if you break down or crash during qualifying or even in testing.
Yep, indeed. Though thankfully it's not been the case in testing as of yet. We still got 10 minutes in which that could change, as Curtis has lost a heap of time to Sector 1, and his braking was a little bad into Tosa.
Yeah, indeed, and Curtis not having the best of sessions today, but well, obviously you would imagine the expectation for him is to obviously fight for the title again this season, but who knows, could he actually potentially break his duck this season, Rob, and potentially get that first win that's been eluding him so far in his OC career?
I think he wants that more than anything. But there is one pretty big problem. Sure, he won the title last season. That was an entirely different car. all the knowledge he has and the experience he's gotten a few seasons he's raced in the old GP2 car, that's not gonna be relevant anymore. So it's a level, it's a clean slate for everybody. So Curtis, we know he can do a brilliant job. He just needs to be able to do it all over again.
Indeed, as we look at Agatina Bavona, his second sector, 3 temps down on his personal best. Looked like he got a little bit squirrely through the second part of Aquamiller Rally, to be honest with you. So I did mention earlier on that we're not seeing as many mistakes as what we saw in Euro Speedway. It seems that as we get towards the second half, it seems that people are starting to pick up that habit again, and it seems that
Just a little
it
bit,
proves
yeah.
seems to prove my point a little bit earlier that these cars seem to be a lot trickier to drive than what the previous GP2 cars used to do.
I'd say they are because we had some instances of understeer, but these cars in particular, oversteer has been quite a big factor. You've seen the car just snap on some people mid corner, even in both days of testing. So clearly, the drivers need to be extra careful with their throttle application and also their braking at times if needed.
Yep, as Graf is going to cross the line, no improvement for him as Proxy again continues to hold him up as they make their way down towards the first game. Of course, Graf is, of course, once again a test driver in the OC, a Ferrari test driver. So
I really hope you won't ask for a practice session every race.
Oh, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, he and Ra, when they were test drivers back in 2019 for Williams and Red Bull, respectively, obviously took advantage of that. So whether he'll do the same now that he's the Ferrari test driver, we'll have to wait and see. As Austin gets a little bit loose going through into Piratella there, but keeps it away from the AstroTurf. So
of course,
yeah.
there's a sausage, not a sausage curb, but there is a curb installed on the outside on this version. So it discourages extended track limits there at Piratella a little bit.
As Oscar just comes out of the chicane there before making his way.
He was only one
towards-
tenth down, so that little error, I don't think it's cost them much. It took 8 minutes to go in this session.
As he now makes his way through the section of cars. We look at Henry Watson now then, who's just getting a little bit squirrely.
That turn 4, sorry, that entrance into Villeneuve was quite bad. And he's lost 7/10. It's a good run into Toast, actually, very good one.
We might as well talk about Henry Watson here. Obviously the most experienced driver on the grid, it's fair to say, in this series. What are we expecting from him this season, do you reckon, Rob? Because he did improve last season, let's not forget.
Yeah, I think Spa was the most brilliant drive when he held off the pressure. Soto's improved by half a tenth here, I think. But yeah, speaking of Wetzel, Spa was his most brilliant performance. He fought off the pressure and managed to hold on to second, even against his own teammate, which must have frustrated Farina. But yeah, Wetzel, in past seasons, he was seen as a joke. He was seen as being laughably bad. But I seriously don't think that's the case anymore. I think last season he was able to step up and be competitive when he needed to be competitive. And yeah, just needs to work on his consistency, and he could be a very solid driver this season.
We'll have to wait and see, of course, but he has been here for quite a while. It's fair to say. You could say he's a little bit like the John McPhee of the OC, really. John McPhee, if you
Thank
don't
God
know
we
it,
don't have age limits here. Though we have a guy who's just age limits, but we're gonna ignore that.
As we now have Tadej Daniel, who's trying to find a way through there on Aluka Farina, but wasn't able to make the move stick there. As we just come out of Tamburello there before heading their way into Villeneuve chicane. And
of course, it is possible to overtake at Villeneuve as he's locked up, but not in the dry. You sure as hell can overtake there in the wet, but in the dry it's pretty difficult.
Just over 6 minutes to go now then in this pre-season test, and Synonym still at the top of the timing sheets at this moment.
Improved yet again, and this time he's found the whole 10th. Keep it up.
7/10 off of Synonym there. 700's down in the middle sector.
Watsel's botched the left-hander in Variant Alta. It's a shame because he was only a few hundreds down on his personal best, but he won't be improving.
As Watson now then makes his way through into the two Ravazza going around the set of houses that surround the track, of course. And of course, let's not forget, all the way back in the olden days, this used to be a street track, but over the years it's become a racetrack. And of course, the track was built around a town, of course, whereas unlike some tracks where a town usually gets built around a circuit, this was built within the town itself. It's a little bit like trying to think what another track is that built their track basically within a city, really. So
As Arnold locks up into the second part of Villeneuve, luckily keeps it on track, but he can ignore this lap time.
as Arnold just comes out of the left-hander, meanwhile,
More
more
pros.
improved remains in sixth position. As Arnold now then will make his way towards Pilatella. Not quite, because that's a street circuit. I'm not on about street circuit. There's apparently another track out there, like Imola, that built their track around like a town or a city. But I know that Yehognam was planning to have theirs be similar to how. Yehognam was planning to have their track built before basically building a city before they obviously ran out of funding. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there was another track out there that did something similar to it. I can't remember. If it comes to me, I'll mention it, but I can't actually remember off the top of my head. But we've got just over 4 minutes to go now in this session.
And we're on board Rose Hansen into the middle sector. Let's check that sector time. And Hansen is way down at the moment. Won't be improving.
And just looking like they're just trying to gather data for the Trident team. Trident, of course, I think have won a lot of drivers' championships in the feeder series. Maybe looking at another one if they can, and maybe even try and go for the team's title, which they just missed out on last season to Uni Virtuosi. And meanwhile, we're running on board with Hoang and Nguyen.
Oh, Nguyen understeered a little bit in the first part of Variant Delta. He wasn't going to improve anyway, but this just solidifies even more.
As the McLaren test driver now, then I don't know if you can quite tell he's the McLaren test driver. I think it's quite obvious from the onboard camera, but anyway.
Yeah, you can from a larger distance, you might not see that bright orange McLaren text, but from here you can absolutely see it.
As cross line goes Nguyen, no improvement, stays in P9 for the moment now.
Looks like there's a car going out. Will he overtake it?
Sinanomi's trying to get by his former teammate, and Sinanomi's going to stay in front as Cress just gets around Oskin there, who just came out of the pits.
Kept it nice and tidy into the Tamburello as we got just under 3 minutes.
We're getting close towards the end of the final day of F2 pre-season testing.
Not just F2 pre-season testing, but the last pre-season test of any series, of course.
This season, yes, absolutely. And as Tobias Cress just comes out of Toza there, as he'll now make his way up towards Piratella. And of course, the first race for F2 will be in 2 weeks' time. Of course, this preseason test was meant to happen next week, of course, but obviously Flo brought it a week forward, although you could say it should have happened last week, really, before Yuri announced his vacation, of course. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see what the racing will be like in 2 weeks' time for these guys. But
as I got to know, Bivona has just started a new lap. Gabriel Quintino going a little deep into Piratella, but I don't think it's compromised him too much.
Like I said, it will be very interesting to see what the racing will be like
throughout
the course of the season.
2 minutes remaining.
He's just under 6/10 down.
Yep, and let's as we have just under 2 minutes remaining.
Kurtz has just gone out on track in the meantime. He will get a lap in, but just the one.
Lap, yep, just the one. Whether he can get himself into the top 10 before the end of the session, we will have to wait and see. As Bavona is down on his personal best in the first sector, as he now makes his way through into Aquil Miller Rally, as he will now come up towards the end.
A little bit untidy onto the exit there, up the hill, 2.5 tenths down, and let's just see if he can claw back any time in S3. His run into Variant Delta wasn't too terrible, but he looked a little bit shaky on exit. Let's see if he can improve or not.
Oskin tries to find a way through on Crest there, but Crest saying no to that, as we have just over a minute to go now then in this testing session. And of course, because we've got no checkered flags, it does mean that we need to keep an eye on who's going to be the last to cross the line, so that we don't go
just like in qualifying.
In qualifying, as we have just under a minute to go.
Locks up majorly there into the second part of Variant Delta, keeps it out of the barriers, keeps it on track, but he's really holding up that guy behind him.
Yep, 40 seconds left as Crest now then just comes around the first part of Ravazza, then into Ravazza 2 now then. Will Oskin try and find a way through into the first few turns? I'm not sure. 30 seconds left.
Dampened a bit down. As here goes Oskan. He's actually going for the outside line, Is he gonna switch to the inside? Yes, but only after the kink. Can he get the move done now? No, he can't. So that's virtually the session over, and he won't be able to improve. That's a certainty. 10 to go, and you have Ruslan Protsu crossing the line right about now. No improvement, as we got 5, 4, 3, 2. Watts will be last to cross the line. 1, 0. The checker flag is out.
It'll be Proxy. It'll be KF Shani that was the last to cross the line.
Oh yeah, because Watts is gonna come into the pits, right? Blackwood will be the first one to cross the line after the checkered flag, so he is done. Just a mileage run there because he had just come out of the pits. Martins cannot improve. Rico mileage run for him, and the VAR of Darabosh Daniel will be finishing this lap. Can he improve some slipstream here? No. Bivona can't improve either. What about Adam Chobot? It looks like Joe's muted his mic there for a second. But Adam Chobot is currently not on an improvement. It'll be interesting to see if we can claw back any time in S3, though I doubt it. Either way, Adam Chobot to finish his preseason. Crossing the line right about now, he is down, but not by a lot. Sinome doesn't improve, he remains fastest though. As just Frederick Suto across the line stays the last, I'm afraid. 7 tenths down though, so some progress compared to yesterday. The field is closer. As Ruslan Protsiuk will be waiting for him to cross the line, and after that I am not sure who is left. But nevertheless, oh yeah, Chow China it is. As Protsiuk doesn't improve, and for Chow China will round off preseason testing, but without an improvement. That is it for preseason.
And it is Sinanone who ends up topping the session in the end. So
yeah, he was on top all day, and
need to wait until it gets to the menu screen now, then before anybody can improve. So that's that, and that'll be that really. So yep, and
I could just improve half of it.
And might as well just screenshot this bit so that we can read out the results. There you go. That's that then, really. So we might as well go through it.
Right.
So, oh, you were going to read the first part there, Rob.
Yeah, but I don't actually see it on on the screen share.
Not on the screen share. I've put it in the chat.
Oh, right. Just give me a second. I'll look at the chat. Okay, so it's Hento Sonome who's gone quickest, 122.7. Gabriel Rico not too far behind second, with Rose Hansen running out the top 3. For China, it is in P4, a very solid day. With Alexander Arnold, no relation to Trent Alexander-Arnold, a very, very solid day, climbing up all the way to 5th place compared to yesterday, which was a disaster. Today is much, much better. Blake Moore, P6, with Jonatas Martins in P7. Gabo Quintino is in P8, with Homingway in P9. Mens Wallinger is in P10, and Vagatino Bivona P11. And do keep in mind Black would improve to 20th by the end, Joe. But yeah, you did the second half.
Did he improve to 20th? Because I'm pretty sure.
He improved right before. He improved right before the practice over screen.
Well, that's not meant to count, I don't think. So.
So I'll leave him in 21st.
Yes. So that's why you need to get into the escape button quicker, Flo, because otherwise that happens. Anyway, P12 for Tobias Crest, P13 Henry Watzel, P14 Adam Showbot, followed by Ruslan Protsuk in P15, Aaron Curtis in P16, with Dennis Graff 17th, Sam Oskin in 18th, Durabush Daniel 19th, Luca Farina in 20th, with Jafari Blackwood in 21st, and Josie Frederick Suto in 22nd position. So that is it for F2 preseason testing. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, what did you think of that session? Because we still had some mistakes, but not as concentrated as before. I think it definitely was cleaner. So drivers are getting to grips just a little bit with the cars more than they were in last drink.
Yeah, I think if it's anything to go by with these mistakes, we could be seeing some quite interesting racing, but who knows, really?
Yeah, totally. But that's been it from preseason. It's been from Imola, and I don't think it disappointed. We've had more overtakes in this one test than we had in the entire 2014 race. But yeah, next time we'll be seeing you in Baku in Azerbaijan. We'll be seeing you for the first ever race of F2, so it should be a very, very entertaining show. Until then, I've been Robert.
Up in JW97.
And and that's been it from us and from Flo. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I am very, very excited for this season to get underway. But until then, catch you later.
Bye.